I'm Alexa.
And I'm Janae. And together we're funding her success.
Hey everyone, welcome to the second episode of Funding Her Success. I'm Alexa.
And I'm Janae.
And today we're going to be talking about finding your path in real estate investing.
Yeah, so today I thought it would be a good idea as we're starting this podcast, starting this journey, to start with the basics, right? I feel like when we talk to people and we're like, oh, or we tell them we're real estate investors, a lot of time their first question is like, okay, cool, but what is that? Like, what does that mean? Could like mean so many things. So that's what we wanted to break down today.
So the first thing that you need to decide is whether or not you want to actively invest or passively invest. So like, do you want to be in the game? Do you have the time for that? Or do you just kind of want to give somebody your money and be like, here you go?
Mm-hmm.
After your due diligence, of course.
Yeah, always, always, always. Or do you want to be more of an active investor, right? So it's the opposite of passive. Do you want to be, what is it called? Like boots on the ground, like in a fix and flip? Do you want to be managing a property? Like, do you want to be actively doing something, or would you rather, hey, I don't have the time, I don't have the expertise, I'd rather just invest my capital into somebody who knows what they're doing? So that's kind of like the first avenue that you would go, right? To choose, okay, do I want to do more of a passive role or active? So Alexa, can you give them like some examples of what active investing is?
Active investing would be fix and flip, buy and hold, or any kind of rental.
So if you're doing a short-term rental, mid-term rental, or long-term rental, you obviously have people coming in for a certain amount of time and then leaving. So you have turnover, right? So if there's repairs that need to be made, cleaning of the property, yeah. Any sort of things that need to be done in between to what's the word, like upholds the standard or the quality of the property.
Right. Yeah.
Those are all things, communicating, right? Like first listing these properties on whatever platform you are, communicating with the customers or people that are making the bookings, the leases, who's drawing up, the leases, who's collecting rent, who's
Well,
out
that's
making,
out.
mm-hmm, who's making repairs when they call saying, something's leaking, or the TV's not working or the internet's not working. Like, who are they calling? So some people opt to manage the properties that they own, but some people, they don't want to deal with that. So you can still own the property, but have a management company kind of doing all of that management work for you. So like that's an option as well. But yeah. Actually, I wanted to throw into kind of more into the, I guess it's a rental strategy, but it's also like a specialized investing strategy as well, like the co-living model that's booming right now, right? And if you haven't heard of that, that's where you basically rent by the room. So there's multiple people in one house, and they're basically just renting the one room.
I feel like co-living and or not pad split. That pad split is co-living, but pad split and house hacking, like
yeah,
buying a duplex and living in half of it for a year or whatever.
yep.
So we talked about active investing. What does that look like?
Alexa, say you have $50,000, right? And you don't have the time, you have, you work a W-2 job, you don't have the time to dive into real estate or, any of that sort of things. So you're like, hey, I have money that I would like to put to use and get a good return on it, right? Then say you meet me and I say, hey, I do fix and flips. I can use your 50K to contribute to rehabbing this house. why don't you loan me the 50K? I will use it to rehab this house, resell it on the MLS, right? And then I'll pay you, say 12% on your money, and I only need it for 6 months, right?
Right.
And obviously you have all the right contracts and you have all the right paperwork and everything done, um usually using a transaction coordinator, which is what we always recommend, right? Because those are people who are, their sole purpose and their sole job is to make sure that the paperwork and everything is organized and completed and sent, communication with the title company and everything is good to go. um but that's kind of what it would look like, right? Alexa would be the passive investor because she's not in there painting walls. She just gave me the money to go paint the walls or to hire somebody to paint the walls. So she's the passive investor. I'm the active investor.
Yeah, because I sure don't want to paint walls. That's not my thing.
Uh, okay, no, I think that was a good example.
The next thing that is really important to figure out is what are your strengths? What are the things that you're good at, and how can those things help you move the needle forward
Hmm.
in your real estate journey, which is actually a lot harder to figure out than you may think.
Why
But
do you say that?
because I mean, I feel like I feel like my strengths were like in my face, but I was looking for it to be something else.
Hmm.
Like I think that my biggest strength is just really being a genuine, honest like person, and I always felt like I didn't have value to add to people just because I was new and I didn't really know what I was doing. But like you got to own that. It's okay. It's okay to be new and not really know what you're doing because everyone has to start somewhere.
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like I was gonna say like it kind of leads into like imposter syndrome, right? Like when you're starting something and you don't know like a lot about it, and you're putting yourselves in these rooms and you're networking and you're going to meetups and all that stuff, and then you see all these people, right? And how much they know, but it's also like that's what you need to do in order to become that person. Just put yourself
Yeah.
in those situations. But and even me, like as we're going back to strengths, right? Like I wouldn't call myself an extrovert. I wouldn't purposefully go put myself in a room with people that I don't know to just go talk about real estate.
Yeah.
And so like I definitely did not feel like that was one of my strengths, but I feel like it's become a strength. Like as I've practiced it, like now I'm not really as nervous. And so it's almost one of those things where just because you don't see it as your strength now doesn't mean it can't change. It just means you need to practice it. But I think at the core, people like, like my husband, like he can go into a room and talk to anybody and become best friends. And then they're, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But um, he's a people person. So I'm like, okay, he's good at building rapport. He's just good at just talking about whatever. And I'm like, that's his thing. He's the networker. He's that person. And I'm just the, the quiet one. But, um, it's kind of made me come more out of my shell. Like I said, having to go to meetups and all that stuff, and push yourself out of your comfort zone in that way. Um, but I mean, even then with using that to build relationships, but also to have the confidence of like negotiating deals, and all of that stuff. But I feel like, let me ask you, like, so what type of skills do you think, like, say a person who raises capital, right? What kind of strengths do you think they have?
I think the number one strength that they seem to have is confidence.
Hmm.
Confidence that they're the one for the job. Like, give me your money, let me do my thing, and I'll make sure that you get a good return. I'll make sure that this is a good deal.
hmm I think that for sure. I mean, even the strength of like if they themselves are underwriting, right? Like, are they good with numbers or do they have somebody on their team who their strength is more of the numbers and more of the math, more of the analytical mind, you know? But I feel like we're specifically talking about people raising capital. Um, confidence is a big one. And just the
Working.
I mean, even like your strength, like being genuine, like that's a good trait to have, but also coupled with the confidence and these people have to trust you, right? Like the ability to build rapport with them, and it's not fake. It has to be genuine.
Mhm.
Um,
People know if you're not being real.
yeah. And I feel like too, there's a power in being uniquely you, right? There could be
Absolutely.
two people in your room that you're going up to, you know, hopefully build a relationship with, and you might vibe with one person and really connect with one person, and the other one you may not. And not because it's any, you know, any negative reason. It's just maybe you just don't click.
And
And
that's
that's
okay.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I think also like we were talking at like if you're more of an analytical person, if you're a very organized person, you know, you pay special attention to detail, right? Like I think of transaction coordinators, like they have to have such a level of patience and attention to detail and communication and, you know, organization, like all those things. Um, so I think just thinking about your strengths, right? And then running with that or leading with that, if that makes sense.
This whole video, you're just gonna see me big self. So here's the number one question. How do people get started? How does one get started in real estate?
Yeah. The biggest way that a lot of people are getting the education nowadays is from YouTube, right? Like the first thing you do when you're trying to learn about something is you search it on YouTube.
Yeah, that's
And
definitely that's where I started, was on
yeah,
YouTube.
me too.
Well, TikTok and then to YouTube.
Yeah. And that's then where you find the, you know, mentors or the communities, you know, that's how I came across Pace Morby and um all of that. So, but even then too, like, you know, in your local area, are there investment groups? You know, there's Facebook groups,
Yeah,
um,
real estate meetup.
networking events. Um,
The
uh,
biggest thing I want to add on getting started is yes, get on YouTube, like kind of check out the groups on Facebook, but be careful and do not get scammed. Don't like you have got to be really careful of who you're not necessarily who you're connecting with, but who you're giving your money to because I got scammed when I first got started in real estate over like $2,000.
oh geez.
And yeah, I didn't have $2,000 to be getting scammed out of.
Oh my gosh. What, if you don't mind me asking, what happened?
This girl, well, I had joined a Facebook group, and this girl reached out to me and was like, "Hey, my mentor, da 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 da, wants to, is looking for females to mentor," and just kind of like, so I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like $30 to get started, and then they send me these contracts, and then next thing they want some more money for this, and it just like the main girl, would get on the phone with me and would help me a little bit until finally got to the point where she's like, we're actually going on this company like retreat thing, whatever.
Mhm.
And she's like, if you just send me however so much money, you can book it, blah, blah, blah.
Oh geez.
And I didn't do that. I didn't do that, but she kept like just saying stuff like that. And then
hmm
it finally got to the point where I had sent her enough money, I guess, and she just like would no longer answer me, and I have to say I did send her a very not nice message about
Um,
how big of a piece of trash she was. Like, how do you sleep at night?
yeah, who wouldn't? But I guess that's another tidbit of information too, right? As we were talking about passive investors and active investors, if you're wiring money with the intention to invest in somebody's project or anything, it always goes through the title company. You never wire it to somebody's direct account, ever,
Never, ever, 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 ever.
ever, ever, ever. But yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. That's not cool. And that's the
You
thing is like,
learn, but hopefully, if
yeah,
you're listening to this, you don't have to learn the hard way. If you have any questions or need a mentor, please reach out and we will get you connected to somebody who's worthy that
yeah,
won't take.
there's there's really great groups out there. You just, have to find your group of people, but you're never going to do that without taking the dive, you know, going to meetups or any of that sort of thing. But just be careful and proceed with caution in anything you do, obviously. But yeah, so obviously it helps to, get education, so like courses or join mentorships or whatever. But
Well, most importantly, just start.
hmm
Start somewhere. If you're interested in getting started in real estate, start somewhere, anywhere.
hmm
If you're looking to get into wholesaling, we have an ebook on that you can check out.
and a contract.
Contract.
Yep.
And I mean, there's free resources all over the internet.
Yeah. I'll make sure to put the links for the ebook and the contract in the description too. Basically, just to recap, um, there's tons of strategies that you can go about to get into real estate, right? But the biggest ones we talked about were determining whether you're a passive investor or an active investor. Um, Along with that, right? What type of investments do you want to get into? There's fix and flips. You can buy and hold. You can do short-term, mid-term, or long-term rentals. You can invest in multifamily, commercial, land. There's so many options. But then we talked about assessing your skills and your strengths and using those to your advantage and, you know, finding those which investment strategy best meshes with your strengths, right?
Right. You don't
Um,
have to search the different strategies and figure out which one aligns most with your goals. Don't do what everyone else is doing just because everyone else is doing it.
yeah.
You want to get into what you actually want to do.
Yeah, that's a big one, honestly. The shiny object syndrome is what they call it, right? And you see somebody else succeeding in a certain strategy. I see Ellie's little face in the window. She looks so cute.
Oh.
She's so cute. Oh, she's like, okay, okay, let me not make her wake up.
She
Um,
had a good time camping this weekend. She was so cute.
no.
Object syndrome is real.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
The important thing is to just start somewhere and you figure out your path along the way. And there's no shame in changing your mind. Doing something for a little bit is not your thing. Try something else.
Yeah, I
And,
agree.
um, as always, if you have any questions or if there's anything we can help you do to get started on your journey or in order to scale, reach out and we're happy to help. We made it through the bug bites and the dogs barking for episode 2. Thank you guys for tuning in and catch us in a couple weeks for episode 3. Subscribe to our YouTube, follow us on Instagram, Threads, Twitter, Facebook, all the things. See you guys in the next episode.
Bye.